That's all the media and the politicians are ever talking about, the things that separate us. Race, religion, ethnic and national background, jobs, income, education, social status, sexuality. Anything they can do, keep us fighting with each other so that they can keep going to the bank.
People are going to be doing what they always do when the economy tanks. They will be blaming immigrants and corporate.
This country has proven resilient based on the fact that its foundation is the age of reason.
America is just now coming to grips with what unfolded here in the early morning hours here in Orlando.
In this city, thousands of demonstrators marched to protest the death of Eric Garner.
Breaking news, a fresh act of madness. The snipers hit 11 police officers.
Gun sales in this country are spiking in the aftermath of the San Bernardino terror attack.
We're bringing it on ourselves. And that's the thing. Al-Qaeda, all those guys, ISIS, they're not compared to the damage that we can do to ourselves on a regular basis.
Hey everybody, welcome to the episode 38 of the Age of Reason podcast. What's going on, Alex?
Not much, man. Episode 38. We're getting up there.
We're almost at a work week.
Yeah, I saw I saw that the other day. It's when my wife tagged us in the Facebook post that told us to get our shit together, and get it started. So,
and that's the Age of Reason was born.
Yeah, so that's cool, man. Let's keep up the good work, and hopefully we can take it to new levels here pretty soon.
Well, in our very first episode, we gave a shout out to your wife. We should probably do that again. So thank you again, Alex's wife. Yeah, it took us probably 3 months after that to get the ball rolling. So yeah, damn. Almost a fucking work week. That's crazy. So, what's before we get into anything? You got anything new? I'm still living in a liberal state, so nothing crazy.
Yeah, I haven't had too much conversations lately. Honestly, it's hard with every Republican supporting Trump. Pretty much, it's there's not a lot of intelligent conversation there, as you know. So right. I'm pretty much avoiding it, honestly. So yeah, nothing new on really my part as far as community service.
Well, I didn't have that, but I did. I have been thrown into the 60s and 70s over the last week. So, for anybody that likes documentaries, go on Netflix. Tom Hanks and CNN of all places. I don't really care much for CNN, but Tom Hanks and CNN got together. They made 3 documentary miniseries. The 60s to 70s, those are both on Netflix, and then the 80s is on YouTube. You can watch the whole thing there. But I started watching it, and man, I found music that I was never into before. Like, I've never been into folk music at all, like Bob Dylan and stuff like that. And I'm still not really into Bob Dylan, but I found this guy. His name is Phil Oakes, and all he does are protest songs. That's all he did from about the mid '60s to the mid '70s before he committed suicide, because that's what great artists do. And dude, his songs are just like fuck religion, fuck the right. He even gets on the liberals for shit. It's crazy, but it was weird to walk through, especially the 60s. It was weird to walk through that decade, and then it was really weird as well to walk through the 70s with all the violence and everything that was going on there. So, I mean, some of the realizations I came to is, like, you know, we talk about mass shootings now. Mass shootings are the epidemic that we go through. And in the 70s, it's like, we have come a long way. It made me feel a little bit better when I watched both of these sets of episodes. Was in the 70s, that was like the main serial killer and cult era. So you had, you know, Charlie Manson, and you had other domestic terrorist groups from people that were peace and love in the 60s, but by the time the 70s got around, they became violent, and there was bombings all over the place. There were groups of people like that would bomb all over the United States and just set shit off at political buildings and shit like that. And then on top of that, you had the cults. You had like Jim Jones and the Grape Kool-Aid down in Guyana. You had the whole Marilyn Manson thing. You had all these serial killers, John Wayne Gacy, Ted Bundy. Richard Ramirez, all these fucking people running around. And then not only that, violence was through the roof, crime was through the roof. And then after all that is said and done, the real peak of the Cold War and nuclear war being a real reality was always looming. I remember my mom telling me that, when she was in school, she had to practice getting under the desk and shit like that. And they actually had videos of this. So I don't know. After watching it, I always feel like we haven't come far enough. But I feel like that's been, it's never enough. But I feel like we haven't gotten as far as we should be. And then I look at where we were 40 years ago, and two things affect me. And one is we have gotten a lot further than I thought. And secondly, all these people that were born in the 60s that are part of that generation are the ones that we're going to battle with today, which is strange. It seems like they lost their way at some point.
I mean, I've only watched the 60s, and I'm almost finished with them. But I guess I'll start on your point. And I think you have still two sets, right? You still have your liberal, I mean, I guess like Bernie Sanders type, right? So there was a lot of white people, average American people that did understand the struggles of the African Americans, and they were, those, and now those people are old hippies, right. I mean, for the most part. So, if you meet an old white person, it's, if he has long hair, he's probably on our side. If he's got, short cut, he might not be on the other. But, I think it needs to be pointed out that there was a lot of people from that time that, kept the, I guess, liberal ideas and stuff. But yeah, it's definitely, like you said, the extreme personalities that were there, and that's the part that kind of shocked me, especially when it talked about the civil rights movement and stuff, and
John
just
Lewis.
To see, yeah, and just to see how they talked about him. I mean, it just, like you said, we've came a long ways. But it's crazy to think, 50 something years ago, it was the normal, just the conversation, I mean, just not even, they're not considered humans, and
women too. And when you get to the 70s one, I mean, it's nerve wracking, because as you and I have mentioned before on the show, you and I were both mainly raised by our moms. And so growing up with, females on their own is unfortunately very common nowadays, in the sense when they have kids, because I'm just commenting on divorce rate. But it was not common back then, but not necessarily because they didn't have they had a choice. But it's weird to look back on that and just think 40 years ago, women could not sign for a loan at a bank. I mean, it's absolutely nuts to just think about certain things like that women just weren't allowed to do. I mean, when it came to divorce, it was up to the man. The woman had no say in it. Unless the man showed up in court on that day and said, yes, I want to divorce her, they had to stay married. It's so weird that just a decade after, you and I were born. And this stuff, sometimes it just seems so far away. But I mean, some of the things that I think when I watch this that were even prevalent today is, when you look up Barry Goldwater and see where he was at, and then you look at Donald Trump, there's similarities there between the way their rhetoric to the public is when they're, at their rallies and doing what they do. And, you look at now, Donald Trump just hired Bannon, who is part of the Breitbart group, which makes Fox News look like child's play. And Bannon's advice to Trump is that he needs to be more outspoken, and that Trump has been pulling punches, apparently. So it's like, as I'm watching this, I'm seeing that, and I'm making different comparisons in my head. In 1968, we had RFK, Robert Kennedy, running for president, and he was the guy that was going for civil rights. He was the one trying to point out that, splitting the masses into minorities is basically what the system does in order to manipulate us. And that sounded a lot like Bernie Sanders. And, they killed him. it's just I don't know. It was strange to watch. And after watching 1968, which is also the year Martin Luther King got killed, I don't know. I had a sense of being grateful come over me as I'm watching this and going, holy shit, like there were some people that fought a really hard fucking fight. And then it scared me because it doesn't seem like anybody's fighting for that now. It doesn't seem like there's a lot. I mean, it's not out in the streets like it was.
Yeah, and I was made the same observation, and I was trying to dissect it a little bit and think why. What's the difference? I mean, what would it take to get a couple 100,000 people to march, to Washington D.C. or something like that? And we talked about it before. It's just a huge mix of things. I guess. I don't know. I can't really point one thing that would be different, about then and now. I mean, I would like to think that I would, stand, march or something like that. But at the same time, there's been marches for different things where I've gone to the beach instead, or I've done, other things instead. So on a personal note, I think that I could do more. I guess to help the struggle and to be, part of that. And I mean, I hope to do so. But at the same time, a lot of people are just completely dismissed the entire idea. And that's the part that's, I guess, frustrating, is when so many people completely dismiss, the Black Lives Matter movement or any movement that you have now. The gay movement, the women's movement, all these things started small. And like you said, these people fought extremely hard to get, where we're at today. And if we want to keep moving forward, that's pretty much what it takes. But
I think they've gotten, when I say they, I mean the system, I guess, not to sound paranoid, but I think they've gotten really good at distractions, because I mean, it really annoys me at what people view to be entertainment nowadays. And nothing annoys me more than when, for some reason, politics will be brought up and somebody says, I don't do politics. They don't affect me. And it seems like everybody has found their comfort zone. And as long as things are chipped at and taken away slowly, then nobody's going to notice. But I don't think that's what could and possibly may be in store. I mean, Hillary Clinton now nationally only has a 2-point lead over Trump. She's down from her 4-point lead that she had a week ago. And you got people like the governor of Kentucky that just came out and said that people need to bleed if Hillary Clinton gets in office. We need to pay. They basically, in order to preserve their Christian values, they need to be paid for with blood. And just that type of, how quickly this could all be undone if Trump gets in that office with Mike Pence. That's what's scary. I mean, we're talking about women's rights and civil rights and gay rights and freedom of choice and all that. All that's going to be undone.
I guess to go back just a little bit, today is September 13th. It is the day that Tupac died. I know for me and you as but for me and you as kids, we listened to him, obviously a lot. I know personally he's, I guess one of my, I don't know to say idol, but I guess almost like a mentor, because like you said, it didn't really have a father figure too much. And some of his songs are, not don't have a message, or they're catchy, or
but Brenda's
whatever,
got a baby and changes and
I mean, even some of the other things that talk about just life, for him it's obviously Black life, but I mean, you can relate to them, as a white person, as a Hispanic person, the struggles that he talked about. I think when you look at rap now, anybody that talks about that is probably considered underground. There's no mainstream rappers that bring up important topics like that. And I think that's part of it too. When you look at the Vietnam era, the music like you talked about from the 60s and the 70s, you had real people putting their souls out there on music.
Yeah.
And it brought change. It made people get together and all feel the same kind of emotions. And I think part of I don't want to blame the music industry, but like I think the Beatles, they said we have all this power, we want to do good with it, and the music industry still has all that power. And I haven't seen anything good come from modern music.
And real quick, just before I really want to continue in this topic because music is my favorite thing in the world. Also, last Sunday was 9/11 as well. So this is the first time we've done this show with 9/11. The only thing I have to say about it is, for me, what's done is done. And I know that sounds cold and harsh, but when everybody says remember 9/11, to me it means more than remembering the towers. Those are just buildings, but the lives that were lost, nearly 3,000, and then the countless lives that have been lost over the last 15 years, indirectly due to what happened that day. When I remember 9/11, for me, it's more about remembering the mistakes that we made, and that you may think heaven is worth devoting your life, but certain devotions lead to crumbling towers and thousands of lives being lost. So when I remember 9/11, I remember that religion is the reason for it. That's how I view it. Anyway, I wanted to get on this in the beginning of the episode, but we sidetracked.
Yeah, I guess to go a little further, I think the new atheism movement really got going after September 11th as well. I think because there was some intelligent people. I mean, the Four Horsemen. You have Daniel Dennett, Sam Harris, Richard Dawkins, and of course Christopher Hitchens.
Hitchens.
Yes. They all came together, or not came together, but they all individually wrote books in the aftermath of September 11th. And I think that's when it really kind of got going. They can call it the new atheism. I think Lawrence Krauss said the difference between new atheism and old atheism is 100 years ago you get killed for saying the things you'd say now. It's I guess I wish that at a younger age I had known about it and had picked it up, because I had kind of anti-religious thoughts at a younger age, but I just never was exposed to it, unfortunately.
Right. Well, that's a good segue back into what we were talking about, which is basically you and I seem to miss the boat on quite a few things. You brought up Tupac. Tupac was dead for 5-6 years. I think it was 2001, 2002 that he was, like, I discovered who he was.
No, it was in sixth grade. I remember vividly. In the sixth grade, we had my stepdad had a single of California Love.
Yes.
I can't remember the other
song that
but
even those that don't like rap still enjoy.
I think How Do You Want It, I think, was the other one. It was a double. And he was listening to the song, and we kind of got in the car on the way to school or something. And I remember my mom saying, "Oh, the guy that sings this song just got shot and killed."
Oh, wow.
A couple days ago or something like that. So that is my kind of first memory of Tupac. And I thought that it was interesting that I came to, I guess, almost worship him later on in life. But I did remember listening to him right about the time that he got shot and killed.
Well, for me, so that was in 96. So for me, it happened a bit later. But back to like the conversation that we were having. There's nobody out there that I know of that makes a statement and puts themselves out there. And I think the reason is because everybody's controlled by the record companies now. The record companies They know what's going to sell. You got to have something that's, you know, your chorus has to be catchy. Your verses have to be non-interesting and extremely vague. That way, every girl out there thinks that the guy that's singing is talking to her. And basically, don't rock the boat. That's pretty much it. That's what's... Oh, and 4 chords. Got to do the 4-chord progression. It's just... It's absolutely disturbing that, you know, when you look back and you have all these different people, like, you know, I talked about the folk side of it with like Dylan and Phil Oakes and Cat Stevens and those guys, but those are the ones that I wasn't exposed to growing up. I was still exposed. I still had Jimi Hendrix and not the early Beatles, but the later Beatles and John Legend, who has the Atheist anthem being Imagine. And Creedence Clearwater and all these different people that got out there and did not have a problem saying, fuck you. We're not going to do this shit. And I think, you know, Nick said last week that, when we were talking about Colin Kaepernick sitting out, that he said, maybe we need a stupid celebrity to do this because that seems to be all anybody listens to anymore. I think that's what needs to happen. We don't have celebrities that do this shit. I mean, I have very few bands that I pay attention to nowadays, but none of them that I can think of are extremely outspoken about something, about really anything. And if it is, it's like cancer, it's an illness, which is all great. That's good. But you know, that's not what we're discussing right now. You know, I think Tupac was probably one of those last guys that probably came out and said, fuck you to the system. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was shortly after he died that everything is about nightclubs, bitches, and money now. There's no depth to anything. I mean, rap used to be, black, white, Hispanic, doesn't matter. It used to be about struggle. And there's nothing out there for anybody like that anymore. It's reality TV and reality music. And it's a reality that nobody's ever going to fucking live in.
Yeah, I think now it's frustrating, like when you hear somebody say like, "Oh, that's a good song," and I'll say like, "Have you listened to the words?" "Oh, no, I didn't listen to the words. Just the beat was really cool."
Fuck.
It's like, how are you gonna say that's a good song if you don't even know the words? And I think that's part of the problem is the music side has just become so like, how's the beat, or how do I dance to it?
Well, it's
and
not
the
that
actual.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, just the actual word. People just don't pay attention. And whether it was, I guess, you know, now it's called classic rock or folk music or whatever, but you were able to clearly listen to the words and understand the message. And there's really not any modern genre where they don't just completely repeat themselves, you know, for the hook, or, you know, there's no stories being told in any new music. I don't think.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is, you know, and it's important to sound good. I mean, if it's, it has to be, because if it's not, that means music theory is all for nothing. But that used to just be icing on the cake. Like, you know, the guitar solo of, you know, like, you know, with Zeppelin, which is my favorite band of all time. You know, when you listen to Stairway to Heaven or Dazed and Confused or most of their songs, like A Whole Lot of Love, like you went on a journey with that shit, and the lyrics were powerful in their poetry. And then you hear the guitar solo and you're like, holy fuck, that, you know, Jimmy Page is insane. Did you see him play with a fucking bow? Holy shit. But the lyrics actually meant something. Now, they weren't an outspoken band. They basically wrote about who the hell wrote Lord of the Rings and all that shit? Who is that? I forget his name.
Yeah, I can't.
Somebody will probably yell at us. But basically, that's what they wrote about. But like now, when I'm listening to folk music, like I don't think anybody can say that Bob Dylan has an amazing voice. I don't think anybody in their right mind would say something like that. And the new guy that I've fallen in love with, Phil Oakes, his voice to me it's haunting. It's just like borderline creepy. But I listen to him because his lyrics are amazing. The way he says "fuck you" to church and "fuck you" to controlling and separating the people at the system and all that shit. That's what actually means something. And that's what I really think it is. I think everybody right now is so wrapped in a fantasy about a reality of their life that they want, that they're willing to just watch somebody else live in it, even though they're never going to have it. I mean, This, you know what? And this was the warning that you and I got as kids when it came to video games. We're just, I mean, at least I got it. I don't know if you did, but I got the warning of I'm living in a fantasy land. Like, that's never going to happen. And it was the same thing with movies, I'm sure, when it came out. So, I don't know. It's just, it's such a lack of art in this country, I think, is really what it is.
Yeah. I mean, it's, there's a huge void there, and hopefully somebody fills it soon. But as far as taking on a movement as an entire country, I think, I mean, but it was divisive in the 60s, right? I mean, people were getting hosed and so it's been divisive. I was going to say it's, now today's climate is divisive, but I guess that's not really fair to say. Back then it was, even to a violent level.
Right.
So I just don't know the difference, but I mean, we got to continue, I guess, to try to bring change.
I think it's media. I think it's a combination of a few things, but it's it's a lack of art, it's a lack of being content in your own reality. But I think the media, and I mean all forms of media, not just news. Just media has gotten to a point where somehow it's acceptable to carry a computer on you in your pocket all day and not use it to get information. That's all I use it for. I don't fucking watch cat videos. I don't take pictures of my food and post it on. I mean, if I was a chef, then I'd have an excuse. Or if I was selling cats, if I slang pussy for a living, then I'd have a reason to take pictures of cats and put them on Facebook all day. But like, I don't understand that. I don't take selfies and put them on Facebook. Like, I don't do those things. I use Facebook to express my thought and I use my phone to look things up. Anything that I don't know, anything that I discover that I'm unaware of, I Google that shit immediately. That's what I love about doing it. And people are just content in their ignorance, and it frustrates the shit out of me. And I mean, I was watching one of the documentaries on women, and I had somebody over, and she was a female, and she was on her phone. And I'm like, the only reason you're allowed to even have a phone right now, the only reason you're not in a fucking polka dot dress with an apron on in a goddamn kitchen being a baby factory is because of the shit that's on the fucking TV right now. And I know we're kind of pissed off at Gloria Steinem because of what she said with Hillary about Bernie Sanders a while back, but I have respect for her. I saw a lot of what she did. She's fought for a long time. Yeah, I knew she was a women's rights activist. I had no idea the depth that she was into that and how much of an impact she really made. I still don't appreciate what she said, but regardless. And speaking of the 60s and civil rights, so North Dakota right now with the pipeline, the oil pipeline that they're trying to put in up there. So I finally saw news coverage of it. I didn't see any until Monday night.
Yeah, and I guess shame on us a little bit for not mentioning it sooner. This is the exact kind of story that we need to kind of bring up. And I was following it, to be honest, and last week I just forgot to mention it. But these are the important stories, really, that media is not going to bring it up. I mean, obviously we don't have anywhere near the viewership as Fox News, but this is our platform, and when we need to take advantage of stories like this and getting them out.
Especially after seeing the footage posted by Democracy Now! So here's the backstory in case you guys don't know what's going on. The Native Americans from all over the country have been protesting an oil pipeline that is trying to be put underground that will run from North Dakota, I believe, to Indiana. It doesn't run all the way south, but it breaks east at some point. But there's a lake there, and the river that in 2010 there was a pipe that busted, and the lake and the river still haven't recovered yet. And so they're protesting against the construction of a new oil pipeline, and they all protested up until Friday before Labor Day weekend. And construction workers don't work on weekends or holidays. Well, protesters assumed that, and these guys decided to show up and start bulldozing. And they brought in a security force, all white security force, and basically these guys use mace and dogs and use them. I mean, there's footage of not only people with bite marks and that have been sprayed, but I mean there's a shot of one of the dogs that's got blood dripping out of its mouth, and short of a fire hose, put that shit in black and white, and you got a 1960s civil rights struggle down in fucking Mississippi. It's like having bull fucking Connors over there. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, it's exactly, what the first thing, you think of is, I was just thinking after watching the series, like, wow, I'm so glad we've moved on from this. Yeah. And then you see the video and you're like, wait a minute, what the fuck?
But hey, to be fair, it's Native Americans and nobody gives a shit. I think Native Americans get the least amount of press and the least amount of weight given to whatever struggle they're going through. I remember a year ago, in Arizona, just east of Gilbert, Arizona, where I used to work, they had a sacred ground over there that the government wanted to use for mining, and John McCain didn't give a shit, and they went ahead and broke ground after all the protests, and it got absolutely no coverage. I mean, you have to go to third-party media outlets, which I am very proud that you and I are, to actually hear about these things. And
yeah, and I know you're not a big fan, but speaking of third party,
I don't know. Fuck it. No, go ahead. No, I don't give a shit. Go ahead. No, I already know where you're going with this.
Don't start with that's not fair to have that kind of attitude. Jill Stein was the only presidential candidate to not only mention it, she actually she spray painted on the bulldozer, and now she has charges against her. Was it a publicity stunt? Yes, obviously. I'm
glad you said it, because that was going to be the first words out of my mouth.
But regardless, right? Regardless, she put herself out there. That Hillary Clinton didn't mention this, right? Donald Trump, of course, is not going to mention this. However this election is going to go, that's one thing, but you have to be fair when you look at it and objective. And I mean, she made the right move by going over there and protesting with these people. And I know, like I said, it's not your favorite person, which I agree to certain points, but still, she made it there. She protested with them, and I think that deserves a shout out.
I will give her the same shout out that I gave Kaepernick last week. I have no disagreement with her message or what she did at all. I just wish it was a different person. But since we're doing shout outs of people that got arrested for that, I will also say that Amy Goodman from Democracy Now! Is also being brought up on charges for just covering this event. But I mean, either way, one of the things that struck me about this was Obama was out there in like 2013, 2014, and basically spoke to the I think it's pronounced Sioux Indians, or Native Americans that are the local tribe there. And he spoke about the importance of their relationship with nature and how much he values their traditions and all that. And one of the head guys for that tribe is now saying, where are you at? Where are you now? You came out here, you held our children, you walked around with us, you ate with us, you spoke to us, you told us you had our back. Where are you? And to me, that's kind of surprising, because I've been loving Obama's not giving a fuck term. And this really seems like, I would hope he'd be something to get involved in.
No, he has right now. It's blocked. temporarily.
Yeah, temporarily.
From it came from the federal level though. So,
but the
mean,
federal court ruled against them. But it's being toned down right now, and they're basically just waiting for the protest to die out. I mean, a halt has been put on the construction, but only because the tribe is trying to take it through appeals. But they did lose.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw Obama granting some kind of stay though. We'll update with it, but
either way, the system is fucked up and extremely reminiscent of the beginning of this episode. That when we were talking about the '60s. I mean, that's the main point. But I mean, it's I don't know. The whole thing is frustrating. But in other news, congratulations to Gretchen or formerly at Fox News. She just got awarded $20 million. So Fox News can avoid the lawsuit, and I believe they had to pay out Roger Ailes like $40 million for his severance and retirement, basically for this whole thing to go away. And further females from Fox News have stepped up, such as Megyn Kelly and I forget
there's 10 of them or something. I think there's a bunch of them. I guess staying in business, I don't know if you saw that Wells Fargo was fined $100 million for they had their employees do two things that are just, I mean, it's just amazing. The first thing, they were running people's credit for a credit card without their approval.
Perfect.
So I think they had 500,000 instances where that happened. The other thing that happened is they were creating fake. It's weird. I can't even, like, I had to read the article a couple times and look up a different source just to make sense of it. But they were creating accounts and then creating fake accounts, charging people's accounts with that account, and then they would have insufficient funds, so Wells Fargo would charge them for having insufficient funds.
Oh, overdraft fees.
So, they got fined, $100 million, slap on the wrist for a gigantic bank like that. But, it's frustrating when you see stuff like this. It's just like, it makes it impossible for a little person to, catch a break when you have this gigantic corporation paying employees to fuck you, basically.
It's not surprising. The last news bit that I have is instead of providing funding to the CDC, the Center of Disease Control, because they run out, I think, in another week or two. They run out of funding to fight Zika. And we had the bill ready. Everything was good to go until it went through the Republicans, and the GOP added the defunding of Planned Parenthood into the bill. How can you be a Republican? How can you stand for these things? I mean, not to mention, we've gone over it before where, you and I have talked about why the fuck isn't there a rule that prevents you from sliding laws into other laws that have nothing to do with the original fucking law? Like, well, I mean, even aside from that, how can you be a fucking Republican? I don't understand. I mean, we have we have a virus that's going around that's already made it to. I mean, there's already been several confirmed cases in the southern states.
I thought you were talking about the Republican virus.
Oh,
you're talking about
no. Unfortunately, that one ran rampant a long fucking time ago.
I see.
But it's so disturbing. I mean, we have something that's affecting unborn children, and they look at where they're at with fucking abortion. Yet when it comes out to, I'm going to sound so insensitive, but when it comes out to giving birth to a flathead that has no fucking chance on being a productive member of society, oh no, fuck that. Have the fucking baby with no fucking help. We will not admit that trickle-down economics is meant to divide and conquer so the few at the top can get fucking rich. So yes, woman, you're going to have that fucking child. No, you can't have an abortion. And even though we're forcing you to have a child and do what we want you to do with your fucking body, Don't come asking the government for fucking help. It doesn't matter that your husband got laid off and that you lost your fucking job when you were trying to go to school back in 2007. Not our fucking problem, you fucking whore. Keep your goddamn legs closed. By the way, hopefully when you have that baby, its head comes out fucking right. Because if not, you're not getting any fucking help from us too. And for everybody else that hasn't fucking gotten it, we just pulled all of our funding for CDC because we also don't want you to have fucking abortions. And if they're not going to improve the defunding of Planned Parenthood, we're going to have flat-headed fucking children running all over the goddamn place because that's the way of the GO fucking P. How is this okay with people? How do people not see this? I mean, it's everything that's wrong with Donald Trump too. How do people not see that he and everything about his party is a fucking fraud? Go ahead. Fucking. Oh my God. I don't get it.
It's honestly, democracy, the way that it's set up, cannot function the way we're at right now. It just our Congress is seriously, I mean, it's not borderline useless. It's seriously useless. I used to, I mean, I know I was the only stoner that I in my smoking room I'd have C-SPAN 2 on constantly, and I would watch between C-SPAN 1 and 2, and I would like, I know I was the only 18, 19-year-old that was doing this, but I would like the debates that were going on inside Congress. It was interesting to see these guys argue and the way they argued.
And snowball fights. Fucking idiots.
I can't do it now. There's no argument. There's no exchanging of ideas. It's just polarized. It's a waste of time. Yeah, it's Jesus Christ.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you agree with Hillary Clinton's recent statement about basically the basket of deplorables, that you can take half of Donald Trump's supporters and basically identify them as bigoted, racist, anti-women, basically anti-civil rights of all different kinds?
Yeah,
I don't think she should have said it, but I mean the statistics back her up.
I think, knowing people, I would say it's probably a fair statement. I don't think she should have said it.
No, it's not a political thing to do.
And especially somebody like her who calculates every single thing that's said. It was interesting that she said that, but
she might be trying to take a note out of Trump's book. She might be.
I mean, are we that desperate? that's
I'm sorry.
Donald
Trump. Is Bernie a qualified candidate right now to run for president? I would say we're fucking desperate. I don't give a shit. I mean, I was happy she fucking said it, and I know that the way I felt about what she said has been the same feeling that all of Trump supporters have been feeling when he says his shit. And for all the Trump supporters out there, that's not the holy fucking spirit. That's your fucking ignorance. But I'm good with it. And now everybody's talking about how she's got a week to live.
But okay, I'm honestly, that I'm not a conspiracy theorist, right? But the video did look pretty bad. I don't know.
What, of her falling over?
Yeah, I mean, like, she had two people holding her up, and she still fell over.
Dude, if she's got pneumonia, and I mean, if she could not miss the September 11th summit that they had. She could not do it. She would have been. Look what Trump said about Obama when the Chinese didn't leave fucking stairs out for his plane. He would have started the jet and took off. Could you imagine what would have happened to Hillary Clinton if she didn't make it there on her deathbed?
But honestly, could it have been worse than seeing her pass out?
To me, I'm fine with it. But do you know how many people probably wouldn't even believe that? If it came out that Hillary Clinton has pneumonia, she's hospitalized. What that's going to do is, and I'm surprised I haven't heard it. Maybe somebody said it on the news and I haven't heard it, but Hillary Clinton was just hospitalized a little over a year ago when she was going through her Benghazi hearings on one of those rounds. And she sat there and took all the questioning the day after she got out of the hospital. So this isn't the first time Hillary Clinton has been, hospitalized due to an illness. So it wouldn't shock. It does shock me that I haven't heard anybody say she's obviously unfit to be president because she can't stay healthy.
Oh no, they're saying it, and that's.
I'm just surprised they haven't brought that last part up, the last incident where that happened. I haven't heard that.
Yeah, it's just. I mean, I think they're using all kinds of stuff, and which I don't think. I'm not obviously. I'm not saying that that's a proper argument at all, but I'm just saying when you're calculating. I mean, to me that video looked bad. From an objective point, she starts fumbling. One person grabbed her, fumbles again. The other person grabbed her, and with one person on each arm, she still falls forward. Falls. I don't want to start any more conspiracies, but I that looked bad to me.
Yeah, and for all of you people that don't like Donald Trump, I just say, Alex, you're not going to agree with this. Stop posting Weekend at Bernie fucking memes about this, because it's crunch time right now. And you know what? Gary Johnson's polling at 9%. Jill Stein's polling at 3%. Neither one of them are going to be fucking president. But that 12%, I'd be very curious to see if push comes to shove where they would fucking drop if it was only between Trump and Hillary, because I would bet money that she would have a lot more than a 2 fucking point lead right now. This is where shit is going to start fucking bending this election. This is where all this... What?
If you were elected president, what would you do about Aleppo?
What's Aleppo? That was Gary Johnson's response when he was asked about what he would do about war-torn Syria. Apparently, he had no clue.
He's a stoner, so maybe that affected it. The questioner, I mean, he could have worded it different. I will give him that. It was the way he said it was a little different. You could have said about the crisis in Syria, the refugees, whatever. But his response
this was his fucking Herman Cain moment. What do you think about the conflict in Libya? Libya. Take and bake pizza. Libya. I give them the best damn deal on my sausage take and bake that I could possibly give. Shucky ducky. Speaking of black candidates, did you see Ben Carson? Sorry, there's only 2 black candidates that can run on the Republican side. Did you see this fucker? He was being asked about what he thought about Donald Trump, and he's like, "Well, my luggage. Oh dear God!" And off he went. Right.
That's the most high energy I've seen.
Could you?
That guy.
But the screech that he had, my luggage.
So we're both cracking up too much, but basically he forgot his luggage. I think at the airport, right? I guess he didn't get it.
He didn't know. I don't know. Wait, was it in his car?
I think
car?
He left it at the. I thought I read he left it at the airport.
Oh, goddamn. Poor guy. If that damn baby wasn't sitting next to him, he probably would have gotten some much needed rest, and he would have been a little more alert by the time he got the baggage claim.
That was funny shit.
My luggage. Oh my God. Could you imagine if he was president? Sir, we need the nuclear coats. Nuclear coats. I left them in Florida when I went to go get a change of clothes. I kind of miss that guy.
Oh yeah,
him and his Judeo-Christian values. Oh shit!
The pyramids are full of grain.
Oh my God, that's fucking.
So while we're over on the stupid Republicans, Donald Trump does not want moderators for the debates. He says we don't need them.
I'm surprised they're even gonna fucking do it. I'm surprised he's even going for it.
Yeah, but I mean, I watched. I listened to it while I was at work. The secure. What do they call it? Secretary. Oh Jesus Christ. Commander in Chief. The Commander in Chief summit between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Where they talked about foreign policy. and you got a pretty good taste of what he's going to do in the debates. No matter what, it's deflect off his policy and just talk shit about Obama and Hillary Clinton.
Point is tiny little smokies. That's all he's gonna do.
Matt Lauer's getting a lot of shit for
fuck Matt Lauer. Jesus Christ. Yeah, he did fuck up.
He pretty much got rolled over. He just let Trump. At the beginning, he said, "Hey, we're not going to talk about Hillary. We're going to talk about you. What would you do?" And then basically let Trump run wild on Hillary. He did ask him the question. He said, you keep saying you have the secret plan to defeat ISIS.
Right.
And the other day you said you're going to wait and get a plan from the generals and then go forward. He said, it was pretty funny. He said, "Is your secret plan to steal their plan?"
Matt Lauer did a terrible job, and I'm gonna recite what I heard somebody else say, which is after 8 hearings, an FBI investigation, and every Republican salivating at the fucking mouth to put the nail in Hillary's coffin, you think you are going to get through to her and find something that nobody fucking knew? Really? You think that you're gonna break fucking ground on these goddamn emails? And he spends all of his time on that. The second somebody raises up to ask Hillary Clinton a legitimate question about foreign policy, he says, "As quickly as you can, please." But Trump gets up there and he doesn't push anything. Even when Trump says he was against the war from the beginning. Bullshit. No, he was not. Look this shit up. And that's the major fucking problem, is people don't fucking, that little computer in our pocket, nobody uses that shit. But shouldn't our media be fact checking? Isn't that what they're fucking there for? They should be there for us. Now they're there for our entertainment. They're not there to keep us informed.
Exactly. When I heard him say "as quickly as you can," I seriously facepalmed. It's like we're here trying to discuss how either of these people are going to lead the greatest military in the history of the world, and you're saying, make it quick. It's like we don't ever hear details. This is and your average person is not going to be sitting there watching this, right? I mean, most people didn't even know it happened. So the people that are watching it are political junkies, or people that care about politics or have a stake in it. Maybe if you're in the military or something.
As the people asking the question do, they were military, active, and vets. Jesus, hurry up, Hillary Clinton. We only got 30 minutes. We got to lay it on paper so we can let Donald Trump shit on you for his 30. Because that's what he does. He's a fucking chimp. He slings feces all over the goddamn place, and they let him fucking do it, and they didn't slap him on the nose once.
So,
sigh.
I mean, I can imagine the debate's pretty much going to be the same thing. Hopefully, the moderators there are strong enough to keep up with it, but it's going to be a circus probably.
Anderson Cooper. I volunteer Anderson Cooper as tribute. He was the toughest moderator that I've seen this past during the primary debates, and he didn't let Trump skate by, and he didn't let anybody during the Democratic debates that he did slip by. Anderson Cooper.
He's one of them. They announced the four moderators.
Good. I'm glad it's him. Is Matt Lauer one of them?
No.
Good.
I remember. I can't remember exactly, but they said, we should applaud it because it was like a African American woman, a gay man, Anderson Cooper, I think a Latina woman, and then a white male or something. So it was a good mix of moderators that way, I guess. I'm
curious who the white man is, because that may be the only person that Trump may get a little leeway from.
So I got two more things. We got about 6 minutes.
Cool.
2 more things. Both of them could be time consuming. So
do one, because we got a question.
Oh yeah, actually go ahead, do that first, and then these ones.
So I know we've we've discussed this before, but it was way back on episode 2, I think. So it was last year. We got a question posed to us on our website about why Pascal's wager is not why that's not a decent bet. So basically, what the person was asking is basically that they're on the fence between atheism and religion. They have their doubts, but Pascal's wager is what is keeping them on the fence. It's not what has pushed them over. And so this is a question we'll just use. I'm not going to use a whole email address. I'll just say RJ. So basically, it's not a safe bet when you look at the odds. There have been about 4,200 gods that have existed throughout history that have been prayed to on a wide scale. 4,200 of them, and that includes mythology and of Greek and Egyptian, and including the big four that we have today. Your odds aren't all or nothing. Your odds are 1 in 4,200, and I can get into everything that's wrong with religion and everything that basically scientifically should push you over the edge, seeing as how this earth has been proven over and over again that we're not anywhere between 6,000 and 12,000 years old, and that Noah's Ark never actually took place. There's just no way that would have fucking happened. I mean, we can go through all that. Or I can just point out how that you are more similar. All religious people are more similar with an atheist than they think. You guys believe in 1 out of 4,200 gods. We just believe in 0. There's only a 1 god difference there. It's not a very wide gap.
Unless you're Hindu, then you believe in 10,000.
Oh, well, yeah. Then I mean, they got a god for everything, just like Catholics have a god for anything, everything. I did not know the Catholics had a saint for the uterus.
So
they do.
So we'll get back to saints in just a minute, because that was one of the things
I was
going to bring up. But on Pascal's wager,
real quick, thank you for your question, RJ, and for everybody else, leave your questions at Facebook, on our website, our emails on our website. You can email us privately if you want to do that, or even contact us on Twitter. I'll go over the addresses at the end of the show. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, but just real quick on Pascal's wager, it says basically, what if you got to lose if you believe in God and then you're right? And I'll address that first, just because I think it's important. There is a lot to lose if you limit yourself in multiple ways. First of all, if you donate 10% of your income to a church. Now, if you want to donate to a charity, that's great. But if you donate 10% of your income to a church, you're wasting your money, your hard-earned money. If you don't believe in evolution because you believe this is what God did, you're shorting yourself mentally. If you go to church every Sunday, not for the company, because I can understand for the company, but to listen to some old man preach about hellfire and brimstone, you're wasting at least an hour a day when you could be watching the Raiders.
Or just football in general. Or just sleeping the fuck in on a Sunday.
I mean, anything, honestly.
Yeah.
So I just would like to make the point that it's not a freebie where you just believe in God and then you'll go. You are asked a lot, and a lot of it is, mentally, to accept some things with no evidence. So there's that part.
Oh, you have a second part?
Yeah, just the second part is just hoping for something doesn't make it true. We don't use that as a matter for anything else. Does it feel good if I believe this? If we lived our life like that,
the world would still be flat.
Yeah. So that's just my take on the Pascal.
Well, and to add one more thing to the first part that you were saying, don't write off. And I know this doesn't apply to every Christian, but it applies to every Christian that does read the Bible and take it even a little bit literally. The amount of hate that you got to carry around, the amount of disgust that you got to carry around for women in some sects of the church, for gay people, could be for black people, for the poor. I mean, it's just the amount of hate that you got to carry around, and the fear that you got to carry around, because they do preach, the apocalypse. That's part of their prophecy. So, I mean, when they, at least when it comes to Muslims and Christians, Christians of all faiths, and Jews, I mean, you are always being told that the end of the world is coming, because there's always signs happening, and these signs have never happened before. But as we discussed earlier, with the 1960s and 70s, history has a crazy way of repeating itself. So, again, thanks for the question. And Alex, did you have one more thing you wanted to go over?
We're pretty much out of time, so I'll just mention them, and we can discuss them next week, because I think both of them kind of merit some discussion. The first one is from previous, but speaking of saints, which you brought up, Mother Teresa was made a saint. She was canonized. There was, what it takes for that is 2 miracles have to be attested in your name. Right. So that obviously she had 2 miracles. And the second thing, I guess we'll have to talk about more in world events, but North Korea just set off the biggest nuclear bomb to date for North Korea. So that's an ever increasing threat, I guess, when you talk about on the world scale. They have them, they're using them, they're trying to develop the missiles to get them further. So I know it seems like a crazy starved country, but I mean, that guy pretty much spends all his resources in nuclear advancement. So that's
and he banned sarcasm. You're not allowed to use sarcasm in North Korea anymore, because he's like worried that when people are agreeing with him, they're not being serious. Yes, no, you are so tall, Mr. Un. The haircut is fantastic. Fucking idiot. Anyway, yeah, that's shit. I was gonna say something about North Korea. Oh yes, history repeating itself. That would be the new Cuban Missile Crisis. The only problem with that is I think Fidel had a little more brains in his head than Mr. Un over there in his fucked up haircut.
I think in his last dying years, Fidel still has more brains in his head than that kid over there.
Yeah, but I don't think we're going to do anything about it. They don't have any resources we need. So,
I mean, it's getting to be. I mean,
nukes, we won't be able to do shit about it until we defund Planned Parenthood. That is as long as Congress stays in fucking office. So all of our fucking babies are going to come out of the womb looking like that fucking idiot up in North Korea.
Oh, shit.
If that doesn't scare the people and unite them, nothing will. Anyway, thanks for listening, everybody. For all of our stuff off the air, go to the Age of Reason podcast page on Facebook, and follow us at AOR_podcast on Twitter, and for everything else, AORpodcast.com. Don't forget to send us your questions or comments, anything you want. We don't care. We will address them on the air. So yeah, send it over. Looking forward to it, and we will talk to you guys next week.
Thank you.